Ever feel like you're being pulled in a million different directions? Like you have to be one thing here and another thing there.
Oh, absolutely.
Today, we're going to dive deep into a figure who embodies that feeling, someone who is both fierce and nurturing, powerful and connected to nature. We're talking about Artemis.
Artemis, the Greek goddess of the hunt.
The hunt,
So-
wilderness, and so much more.
And so much more.
She's often shown, with her bow and arrow, ready for action, but she's
Yes.
way more than just a huntress.
She is much more than a huntress. Yeah, you can't put her in a box.
You can't put her in a box.
She's also associated with wild animals and childbirth and chastity.
Chastity.
Even the moon?
Okay, so we've got some fascinating sources to help us understand her better.
We do?
We've got a myth retelling that really brings Artemis's world to life, and an interview with a classic scholar,
Oh, fantastic.
Jasmine Elmer,
She's great.
who offers a really fresh perspective on Artemis.
She does. She really challenges that simple label of virgin goddess. Right, because she's so much more.
Exactly. She was vengeful, yes, but also fiercely protective, especially of young women, and so deeply connected to the natural world.
That makes me think about her twin brother, Apollo.
Right.
He's all about the sun logic reason.
Yeah.
And Artemis seems to embody those more like instinctual, wild parts of existence.
It's a great observation. And, their twin dynamic, it really highlights this balance between these opposing forces. And Elmer points out that Artemis's connection to the moon, it's not just about darkness or mystery. It also links her to the cycles of nature, like the menstrual cycle,
Oh, wow.
which the ancient Greeks tied very closely to the phases of the moon.
So that adds a whole other layer to her association with childbirth.
Exactly.
And protecting young women.
Absolutely.
Like she represents not just physical protection, but also that journey of self-discovery that young women go through.
Yes, and that's where understanding the social context of ancient Greece is so important.
Okay.
For a young woman being under Artemis's protection, this was a time of transition.
Preparation for marriage. It was a period of relative freedom.
Really?
Autonomy.
Like a liminal space.
Exactly.
That threshold between girlhood and womanhood,
Yes.
where they could develop their strength and independence
Yes.
before entering the structured world of adult responsibilities.
Precisely. And, that idea of a powerful female figure who defies expectations and forges her own path, that resonates even today.
Yeah, for sure.
But of course, we can't talk about Artemis without talking about
Oh, I know.
divine retribution.
Divine retribution.
Those stories.
Where she unleashes her wrath.
Right, like the story of Actaeon the hunter, who stumbles upon Artemis bathing and is turned into a stag,
Oh, yeah.
only to be torn apart by his own hounds.
Brutal.
Brutal.
It's tempting to just see that as Artemis being obsessed with protecting her virginity.
Right.
But Elmer suggests there's more to it.
Okay.
She argues that these stories are really about a woman's right to control her own body and her own power.
So it's not just about physical purity, but about autonomy.
The violation of boundaries.
It's a powerful message, especially in a society where women's voices were often silenced.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it gives us a glimpse into the anxieties of a patriarchal society.
Oh.
Like, Actaeon's transgression wasn't just seeing Artemis naked. It was witnessing her power in its rawest form.
Yes.
A power that men sought to control.
Exactly.
Which makes her even more intriguing and rebellious, right?
Absolutely.
Like this whole virgin goddess label takes on a whole new meaning.
It does.
It's not about denying sexuality, but about claiming agency.
Yes.
Defying the male gaze.
I think that resonates with a lot of people today, regardless of gender, this idea of owning your power and refusing to conform to societal expectations.
Totally. So how is Artemis worshipped in ancient Greece?
Oh, she had grand temples like the other gods.
Really?
One of the 7 wonders of the ancient world was dedicated to her.
Wow.
The Temple of Artemis at Ephesus.
That's amazing.
A massive complex, not just a temple, a sanctuary.
A sanctuary.
It really shows her widespread appeal and influence.
And speaking of the temple at Ephesus,
Yes.
Elmer points out that the Artemis worship there had Near Eastern features.
Yes.
Which suggests that she absorbed elements of other goddesses as her worship spread.
It's a reminder that even deities evolve and adapt as they travel across cultures and time.
So there's another story connected to Artemis that I find really compelling.
Oh, tell me.
And it involves the Trojan War. Remember the tale of Iphigenia?
Oh, yes. How could I forget? Oh, it's a story full of tragedy and sacrifice. The Greek fleet, they were ready to sail for Troy,
Yeah.
but they were becalmed.
Good call.
Couldn't leave port. The winds were against them.
Right.
And a prophet declared that Artemis was responsible.
Oh, no.
She was angry.
Okay.
Agamemnon, the leader of the Greek forces,
Right.
he had committed some transgression.
So Agamemnon, he's caught between, like, the wrath of a goddess and the pressure to lead his army to victory.
The tough spot.
What a horrible decision to have to make.
A terrible one.
He agrees to sacrifice his own daughter, Iphigenia, to appease Artemis.
To calm the seas.
To calm the seas. Oh, my goodness. It just raises so many questions, you know,
It does.
about sacrifice, the power of the gods over mortals.
The lengths to which people would go to achieve their goals.
It really highlights that uncompromising side of Artemis.
Right.
She's not a goddess to be messed with.
No.
But there's a twist, isn't there?
There is.
Some versions of the myth say that Artemis, at the last moment, whisked Iphigenia away,
Right.
replaced her with a deer on the altar.
A deer on the sacrificial altar.
So it suggests that she wasn't purely vengeful,
Right.
but capable of mercy and intervention,
Yeah.
especially when it came to protecting young women.
It really adds another layer to her character.
Right, like we talked about before, those contrasting aspects of Artemis.
The protector and the punisher.
The wild huntress,
The guardian of maidenhood.
all coming together in this one figure.
And that's what makes her so relevant still today.
Right.
Her story speaks to these complexities of womanhood, the challenges of navigating societal expectations, and the struggle for autonomy and power. These themes resonate across time and cultures.
It makes you think about how her image has been adapted and reinterpreted over time. With the Romans, they embraced her as Diana, right?
Yes, Diana, goddess of the hunt, but a little different.
Okay.
Elmer suggested that Diana's connection to hunting was even stronger, maybe reflecting the Roman fascination with martial prowess and dominion over nature.
It's fascinating how they kind of reshaped her to fit their own values.
It shows that gods and goddesses aren't static.
They evolve
They adapt.
as they travel through time and cultures.
Absolutely.
So what about Artemis's legacy in more modern times? Like, has she shown up in literature, art, pop culture?
Oh, she'd be perfect for our current fascination with strong female characters.
Right.
Elmer actually thinks that Artemis is due for a comeback.
Really?
That she resonates with contemporary audiences who are looking for strong, independent female role models.
It's that I am woman, hear me roar energy combined with a deep connection to nature.
I think a lot of people are craving that these days.
Totally. And while we haven't seen like a blockbuster Artemis movie yet,
Not one that does her justice.
right, her story is appearing more and more in novels, graphic novels, even video games.
Yeah, it's like she's tapping into this desire for stories that celebrate female strength and resilience.
That a connection to something bigger than ourselves.
I think that's the real power of Artemis's story. It goes beyond time and culture, this timeless archetype of feminine power and complexity.
That continues to inspire and challenge us.
It does.
So after this deep dive into Artemis, what does it all mean for us today?
What can we take away from her story?
How can we apply it to our own lives?
Well, I think Artemis reminds us that power comes in many forms and that embracing our own complexity, the strength and the vulnerability, the independence and the connection to others, that's what can make us truly formidable.
Like, she gives us permission to be our full selves, to reject those labels and expectations that society puts on us.
Exactly. Just like Artemis was both protector and punisher,
Right.
a fierce huntress and a guardian of young women,
Hmm.
we too can pain multitudes.
You do.
We can be nurturing and assertive, independent and collaborative,
It's about finding that balance
inner harmony.
that allows us to navigate the world with confidence and authenticity.
Yes, and remembering, like Artemis did, that there's strength and solace to be found in the natural world.
Maybe we could all benefit from spending more time in nature,
Yeah.
tapping into that primal energy that reminds us of our own wildness and resilience.
That's beautiful. It's like a call to reconnect with our own inner Artemis.
Our inner Artemis.
To embrace our strength, our intuition, our connection to the world around us.
So if we could sit down with Artemis, maybe over a cup of ambrosia, what would we ask her?
What a great question.
How can we, honor that wildness within ourselves while still, dealing with the modern world?
Yeah, how do we live in both worlds? I think each of us has to answer that for ourselves.
Yeah.
Maybe it's about setting boundaries or speaking our truth, or just taking the time to reconnect with nature,
Yeah.
to listen to those whispers and the wind and the trees.
I love that finding our own, secret grove.
Yes.
Those spaces, whether they're physical or, metaphorical, where we can tap into that inner strength and embrace the things that make us feel truly alive.
And remember, just like Artemis defied those definitions that society tried to impose,
Right.
we can challenge those limiting beliefs that hold us back.
We can be strong and vulnerable,
Yes.
independent and connected.
We can be fierce.
Fierce.
And compassionate.
Artemis's story reminds us that embracing our full selves,
All of it.
contradictions and all.
That's where the true power lies.
It really is. It's recognizing that we contain multitudes just like she did.
Exactly.
And by tapping into that inner wildness,
That fierce spirit.
that refuses to be tamed,
Yeah.
we can create lives that are meaningful and authentic.
Well said.
Well, on that note, we wrap up our deep dive into the world of Artemis.
I hope you've enjoyed it.
We hope you enjoyed this exploration as much as we did.
And that maybe it sparks some new insights or questions for you.
Yeah. Don't forget to share your thoughts and join the conversation on social media.
We'd love to hear from you.
And of course, subscribe to The Deep Dive for more fascinating journeys into the realms of myth, history, and culture.
Until next time.
Until next time, may the spirit of Artemis guide you on your own path of self-discovery and empowerment.